Moischin b'chvayid Achsanya Shel Torah of Beverly Wood of Pico Robertson is to a large extent the Horowitz family, together with their parents, Dick Horowitz and Mr. Amster, should be gesund. The Moises Hatorah that are developed in the last 10 years are largely through the efforts of Mikey Horowitz and his family. So it's totally appropriate that a Chizuk Hatorah and a Zoros Hatorah should take place in this house. Obviously very grateful to the Rosh Yeshiva for giving us of his very, very precious time. Throughout the country there are many people who are competing for an opportunity to spend time basking in the aura of one of the people HaKadosh Baruch Hu was choinen not only with Das and with Talmud Torah, but with a tremendous chen that one's able to feel special connection that Rabbi Ephraim has with Klal Yisrael, with all members of Klal Yisrael. We're very grateful that he's here tonight. The evening has been sponsored as a refuah shleima for Erez ben Rachel, one of our members of the Kollel community needs a refuah shleima, and for Adina Bracha Bas Rachel is a Tanaikas that was just born in Yerushalayim that needs Rachamim Merubim. And I think that all of us feel the greatest opportunity is to take the Divrei Chizuk. After the Rosh Yeshiva speaks, we'll have a Ma'ariv, and after that there'll be like a shtikl matzav together, a kumzitz, will be Divrei Torah and Divrei Shira, Divrei Shivs and Shebachos. It's a real opportunity for an aliyah, for Dveikas b'Hakadosh Baruch Hu. We're very appreciative. Hagoyin Rabbi Ephraim Wachsman.
Rishus Rav Gradon Shlita, again, Poischim b'chvayid Achsanya. Thank the Horowitz family for opening their home. An evening of Chizuk, they shall helfen that this should always be a home of Kvod Shamayim and Chizuk, and be filled with Siyata D'Shmaya and Nachas. Every person has somewhat of an idea of his Eirech. We're able to estimate what we're worth. I don't mean what we're worth financially, but a person, I'm talking about in the, not in any rochniistic way, but a person knows his status, he knows his standing, he knows where he fits in. Person makes every day a bracha. They didn't make him an eved. He knows he's higher than an eved. A person knows there are balei chayim. He knows he's a person that's a bal chai. Yeah, we have rachmanas on a bal chai. If we see a dog gets hit by a car, it's a terrible thing to see. But okay, we don't make a hesped. It's a dog. Although today, I've heard that there was a study done in the university, and they asked the students if there was a fire. And they had to choose between saving a human being or a dog. It depends if it was my dog or not. It wasn't that simple. But we all know the difference. We all know the difference between... Now, even if someone has a problem with that, he says, all of Hashem's creatures are the same value. We certainly could imagine a person sees a fly. What's a fly? A fly is buzzing around. He's attracted to the garbage. A fly can't think, doesn't live very long. Don't think twice about swatting a fly. No one's going to come at the shachs. I saw a fly, got killed. I have to get over it. Takes me time. Fly is a fly. His lifespan of a couple of hours. It's we know I'm a person, and this is a fly. We know that there's a difference. Nobody in the world would ever think that his value was less than that of a fly, less than that of an insect. Interesting, in this week's parsha, we find that the Meraglim, they said, "Vanihi be'eineim kechagovim." They looked at us like insects, and that's how we felt. Can a person actually have a value that's less than a fly, less than an insect? Actually, it's a medrash. Medrash in Parshas Tazria. It says, brings the posik, Ochor v'kedem tzartoni. Hashem created us ochor v'kedem, before and after. And the Medrash says, Im zocha Adam, if a person was zoiche, oimrim loy ato kidamto l'chol maaseh bereishis. You come before anything that was created in maaseh bereishis. V'im lav, if he's not zoiche, oimrim loy yitush kodmoch. You say to a person, a fly, yitush is a fly, is an insect. He comes before you, who has greater value than you. What could a person ever do that would make his value less than that of a yitush, less than that of a fly? That was the whole medrash as a pella. How could a person ever become valueless like that? But more so, it says if you're zoiche, if you're found worthy, atu kidamta l'chol maaseh bereishis. Now chol maaseh bereishis, the malachim were created during maaseh bereishis. So that means if a person, if he's zoiche, he's greater than the srafim, malachim, vayfanim, he's greater than the highest angels in heaven. But if he's loy zoche, he's less than a fly. And there seems only two options. There's nothing in between. Either you're zoche, it's every one of us has to think, what am I? I'm either greater than the greatest angel. Doesn't sound very reasonable. Or I'm either less than a fly. Also doesn't make sense. Not very, not something we would like to think about. And Taka the Pella is there nothing in between? What are we talking about over here? What do we mean when we say zoche or loy zoche? We're obviously not speaking about you're a tzaddik or a rosha, because we know that between tzaddik and a rosha there are many levels, many gradations. There's a beinani, right? Before Rosh Hashanah, we say there are gimel svarim psuchim, there's tzaddikim, beinanim, and rishohim. But it seems over here you're either greater than a malach or you're less than a fly. How do we understand such a thing? No, they tell a story. There was many years, I think the Rishonim bring this story. Many years ago there was a gathering of philosophers and thinkers, and they decided to sit down and they wanted to categorize the purpose of every single creation in the world. And they spent many days at this conference and going through each nivra, each being that was created by Kodesh Baruch Hu, and this produces food, and this produces wool, and this good, this works, and this makes eggs. Every single thing had a value. And after they finished categorizing the purpose of every creature, then they said there's one creature we still have to work out what his value is, what is he created for, and that's Adam. And they couldn't come up with anything, because apparently all he does is destroy. He takes, he kills, he uproots, he breaks. What does he do? What is he giving to the world? Every animal, every Baal Chai gives something. What is an Adam doing besides taking? And from this they came to the conclusion that it has to be that Adam was not created for his guf, for his physical existence. There must be a higher purpose to his creation. He has a neshama, he has a soul, and that's why he's here. And he's here for a different purpose than all of the rest of the Bria. And this is how they came to the understanding that there must be Asharas HaNefesh, there must be a world that goes past this world, and the purpose of a human being is not for his physical existence. Now we all have a guf and we have a neshama. What's our neshama? Neshama is not something that we have. Our neshama is who we are. So we are. You're a neshama. We all have a sensation, we have a consciousness. We can feel anoichi, we can feel I. Who am I? What am I? Am I my hands? Am I my feet? I'm not my brain. My brain can calculate. My brain is a very, very sophisticated computer. That's not me. I'm thinking means I am thinking. I sense that I am thinking. The person has in his mind, he's picturing himself climbing up a mountain. He sees beautiful scene, you can do it right now. Imagine your brain, you're watching this screen in your brain of a beautiful scenery, but there's someone watching it. Who is watching it? I am watching it. There's a me. There's a me that's separate from my moyach, separate from my ability to think. If someone says something hurtful to me, and I'm pained, I'm embarrassed, it causes me tsar, who was hurt? Was my brain hurt? I was hurt. Sometimes your computer's acting up, you can yell and scream at it, just stares at you. You can say whatever you want, doesn't get insulted, doesn't care. We feel pain, we feel happiness, we feel the whole range of emotions. That's anoichi, that's me. That's who I am. That sensation is because we have a neshama. That's the me who's me for eternity. That's the me who's going to live forever. That's what's going to be in the next world. The aluf name mi ato. The Psalm said it's not a neshama, it's ato. The one who's sitting right here. You are going to be in Olam Haba. Give a din v'cheshbon. That's my neshama. I also have a guf. Clearly I have a guf. I have a body. But not only do I have a body, physical organs and evarim, my body has a life. There's a chiyus. It's a chiyus that I share with all of the creatures in the world. A cow also has a chiyus. That's definitely a form of life. It's not a neshama, but it's a nefesh. It's a life form. The Svarim HaKadoshim, the Balatanya, the Ramchal, the Ari HaKodesh, explain that there are two types of chiyus within us. There's a nefesh hamaskeles, a nefesh halikus, and the nefesh habahamis. There's two different sources of life, and they're constantly switching back and forth. Like a hybrid car goes from the battery to the gas, it keeps on switching back and forth. We always need chiyus, we need life, we need energy in order to exist. But which energy source are we using? So our neshama, which is a source of life, which is a chelik elakami mal that's inside of us, when does it come to life? So the Svarim teach us there are three levushim. There's machshava, dibur, and maisa. We take the chiyus and we dress it. Either we're thinking, we're talking, or we're doing. And these three forms of activity, we are covering the neshama with this levush, and we're activating that. If we are doing a davar shebikdusha, if we're learning Torah, if we're thinking and learning, we're doing a chesed, we're doing a mitzvah, putting on tefillin, we're shaking a lulav. So the life source that is sustaining the machshava dibur u'maisa is the neshama, the chelik elakami mal. If we're doing something that we shouldn't be doing, thinking or saying or doing what we shouldn't be doing, then we switch. And now what's operating is the nefesh habahamis, the chiyus that we share with the animals. My neshama is now dormant. It's not giving me life. Something else is giving me life. Whenever our midas royis take over us, what's really happening? We're switching energy sources, and we are now activating the chelik habahami. A while ago, a few months ago, we took a trip to Eastern Europe. The Bacham in Yeshiva, who took a faher and 3 mesechtes, they won a prize. And we went to the Kfarim in Eastern Europe, and we were in the city of Belz. And it's like an old village. Not much has changed. And to get around there, we wanted to go see the old Bais Medrash where it was, and we stopped 2 wagon drivers. The Balagola from Amol, and they had these 2 little wagons. We were a group of about close to 30 people, and they said, okay, for $1 or whatever it was, they'll take us the other end of town. And we packed on, we filled each wagon. There was room for 3 or 4 people who were hanging over the sides. And one wagon had 2 horses, the other another horse, and they're groaning and struggling. And we're going, we're going. And suddenly, I feel that the wagon starts going quick. It's going very fast. And I look to the right. The other horse had started to go fast. And this horse is going quicker to get past it. And then suddenly they're racing. It's unbelievable. Just like people, no different. He's trying to get ahead of me, and I'm trying to get ahead of you. And some of the horses are just. And then I see that the driver of the other driver, whatever you call him, of the other wagon, he is so excited because he has 1 horse and we had 2 horses, and he's going like this, 1, 2, 1, 2. So like, I'm getting ahead of you. He was so becoming part. You couldn't see where the horse ended and where the rider began. But the truth is, we do the same thing. Horses compete, horses have to win, and so do people. Which part of the person has to beat out the other guy? Which person has to have his way, has to win, has to be an atzayah? Which part of him is? That's the horse that's within us. Whenever we lose control of our midas, we get angry, like an animal gets angry. We get wild, we get many, many different things. Which part of our chiyus is in operation? That's the chelik of behema. When we say zocho, ato kidamta l'chol maaseh bereishis, there's a question. It's not even true. We were created last. How can you say that if we were zoiche, as if we were created? We weren't created. So in the Mefarshim and the Medrash, that's Yosef says no. The neshama of a person was created first before Bria So'ilam. It's chelik elakami mal. If we are a neshama, ato kidamto l'chol maaseh bereishis, you are before all maaseh, including the malachim, including the angels. You're higher and greater than them. Loi zocha, if a person is a guf, if his chiyus is coming from the guf, then yitush kodmoch, because in the category of guf, we are the last. We are the least worthy. Not just physically, because we see many animals far outdo us in everything, in strength and speed and many different things, many different powers and senses, but much more than that. Because if a fly is a fly, nothing wrong with that. He's just doing who he is. But a person who could be a neshama, and he doesn't activate that, and he lives with his guf, is really yitush kodmach. So what does that mean? What does that mean? What does it mean to be a zocha, and what does it mean to be a loy zocha? Some people are zoicha. I mean, some people know and understand. Their identity is, he knows I'm a neshama. And some people look at themselves as a guf. Even without thinking. He sees himself, what is he here for? What is he living for? He's living for Olam Hazeh. His mind is completely focused on his physical accomplishments and all the things, all the Olam Hazeh aspirations and dreams. That's really what energizes him. That's what he thinks about. He wakes up. That's what, when he thinks of life, that's what he thinks of life. Now, occasionally he forgets that he's a guf, and he becomes a neshama. Comes to davening, comes to learning, comes to Shabbos, comes to Shoshana, comes Yom Kippur. He can forget many, many times that he's a guf, and remember that he's a neshama. But his basic life form is a guf. And then there's somebody who his identity, how does he view himself? What's his perspective? Who am I? He's 100% sure. He knows he gets up the morning, he says, I am a neshama, that's who I am. Even if he forgets 100 times a day, he's a neshama until the piece of cake comes on the table, or until somebody says something that he doesn't like, or still starts getting jealous of the other guy. He can forget 100 times a day. But when he knows and he thinks of himself, he looks at himself as something eternal, a neshama who sometimes forgets, that's a zocha. We're not talking about a tzaddik or a rasha. A tzaddik is somebody who only does what's good, and a rasha who does what's bad. And we all fall somewhere in between. But how do we view ourselves? How do we think of life? Or do we think? Because we don't think, then by default, we're going to be gufim. And if we are a guf, we have to know that yitush kodmoch. If we are a neshama, and even we forget many times, but we're a zocha, means we won. If not, we lost. We're losers. We lost the test of life. The test of life is to live on this world and not to forget who you are. To know, to feel, I've got a neshama, this neshama is going to live forever. That's me. Not someone who I remember occasionally, but that's really who I am. To be a zocha means to remember. Zocha and zochar have the same shoirish of zach, that's clarity. We have to remind ourselves again and again who we are. Ashri shalo yishkocheko. Rabbi Yankel Galinsky told the story, says when he was in Siberia, there was a group of yeshiva bochrim who were taken, they were imprisoned in Siberia, and at the same time the Russians had imprisoned a large part of the Lithuanian the government and the parliament and many of the leading military leaders, and they took great pleasure in demoralizing them and humiliating them. And the higher up you were, now there was a minister of education, like he spoke 15 languages, a brilliant man, like they gave him latrine duty. He had to do the worst. And I said, Rabbi Yankel remembers once in the middle of the night he hears some rustling, and he sees somebody's getting up. Sees the guy goes into a bag and he takes out a uniform and he gets dressed and he stands in front of the window. It was at night, so it was dark. Like it was a mirror. He starts saluting and marching back and forth and strutting back and forth, going on 10, 15 minutes. And he takes off his clothing, puts it back in a bag, puts it under his bunk and goes back to sleep. The next morning, Bianca approaches him, says, you got to tell me, they had a lot of respect for the yeshiva bochum. Says when they used to get into arguments, they would come to us to paskin their dintoides that they would have. You know, they trusted us. I said, you got to tell me what's going on. I saw you in the middle of the night getting there. What's that all about? What are you up to? So I'll tell you the truth. Because I was a general in the army, the Lithuanian army. And what they do to me, you can't imagine. I want to keep reminding myself who I am. So every night, I stand in front of the mirror, I put on my uniform, I remind myself that I'm a general, and I march back and forth, and I salute myself, and this way I don't forget who I am. That's really our avoid in this world. That's how we become a zocha. To remind ourselves again and again in every opportunity. When we're faced with a choice, we think it's a choice whether I should do what's right or do what's wrong. I have a choice. No, it's much more. It's a choice of who am I? Am I going to be a zocha or am I a loy zocha? Am I a neshama or am I a guf? What's my identity? Every time we're making that choice. And we have to find time to be mizbainin and to think. Even if a person finds a quiet time to contemplate, to have a Musa Seder, 15 minutes, and to remind himself again and again, what is it all about? Because it's so quickly, today our minds really don't belong to us. We're so confused. We don't even have time to stop and think. Like Paris said, we're so bombarded with information, we can't even think. And if we don't think, we're going to lose. We're going to be loy zacha, and loy zacha means that a human being, Rahman al-Islam, can have a value less than a fly. And what could be a greater tragedy than that? We become impressed. What happened to the Meraglim? They became so spoiled. They came to a place where they saw giants, and they saw giant fruits, and they saw such a ribui, such a shefa of gashmias, and they were rachni as the good people. And a person who's a rachni, if he's not solid in who he is, he becomes overwhelmed. Wow, look at these giant fruits, these giant people, look at their strength. And suddenly they forgot who they were. And in their world, in the world, they couldn't compete. We're like grasshoppers, we're nothing. We live in such a world. We live in such a world where all the values are values of the guf. And for a person to know the truth, he has to remind himself again and again, or else we're going to forget. And every time we go back to being gufin, it's yitush kodmoch. We have to hear our neshama calling to us. I recently told a story, maybe you've heard it. I received this in a letter in the mail. I had the schus to be involved, send out some tzedakah about it was a bach who was a ger tzedek. People were trying to help him get married. And I received a letter from someone, wrote back a 3-page letter. A woman says, I see you raising money to make chasana for a chassan who's a ger tzedek. I want to tell you the story of our son-in-law. Our son-in-law was a bacher. He lived in Mexico. He was not Jewish. He was a soccer star. And when he came onto the field, the stands would erupt into cheering and screaming. He said he had his future ahead of him, anything he wanted. He was a star. But he always felt empty. He always felt that the cheering was great, but once it's over, there was nothing there. And one day he was walking back home, and he heard singing. And he passed the house, and the window was open. He looked inside, and he saw a Zayda with his son, with his children, his grandchildren, sitting at a Shabbos table singing Zmiris. And he stood there transfixed. He began to tremble. He just watched. He couldn't get over what he saw. And he understood he's seeing a Yiddish family with Shabbos. He never turned back. He never went back to his fans. He never went back to the soccer. He found a Rov. He began to learn. He was Megaya. He says today he sits and learns Yom V'Layla. Says he feels that rush of adrenaline when he comes to Bris Medrash. And he's learning a Tosfos, and you hear the storm, and he says he feels the feeling that he felt when he had thousands of fans cheering for him, but it went away, it would disappear, and here he feels it in all eternity. What happened? He had a Yiddish neshama. He recognizes what our neshama can carry us. And what power? Can you imagine what it means to turn your back on all that? What does that come to? Some greatness. That's a spiritual greatness that we all have. But if we don't energize it, if we forget about it, we don't remember that we have it. Yitush kodmach. If we understand this, we understand our relationship to HaKadosh Baruch Hu so differently. Now the Mishnah says, Da ma'ala ma'ala mamcho, ayin roye, oizen shemas, chol masecho b'sefer nichtov. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching every move, everything's being recorded, Today we know what it means. It was once a time, it was hard to imagine such a thing. Today you could take every single thing in a person's life and you could put every word he ever uttered or did, and so you could put on a chip this size and you could file it away somewhere. Everything we know today. There's an ayin roya all the time. Kol masecha b'sefer nichtovim. Think about it. It sounds awful. What's HaKadosh Baruch Hu is this great spy master? We're under constant surveillance. Like, give me a break. Like, I need some time for myself. Where's all the privacy activists, What is this? What does it mean? If we're a guf, it's very frightening. If we're a neshama, you understand, the Mishnah says, Da mala mala mimcho. The Baal Shem Tov said, Mala mala mimcho. What's lemala comes mimcho. Comes from you. What's your neshama? Your neshama is a chelik elokam mimal. Not HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching us, and we have to be sure to stay out of his, keeping his good books. I'm watching me. My neshama is godliness. My neshama, my real being, who I really am. When a person goes somewhere private, and Hashem is the only one who sees him, how does he see him? The same way the person sees himself. That's how Kadosh Baruch Hu sees him. You know what that means? That's a diary. Used to be people would keep a diary. Today people don't think their lives are worth enough to keep a diary. There was a moment when the old-fashioned people used to keep diaries. Every day they wrote down whatever because their lives had meaning. It was worth recording to them. I'm writing a sefer. It's me. Da malo malo mimcho. This is what I want. This is who I am be'etzem. I am the Ratzon Hashem. It's not two sides over here. I am the Ratzon Hashem. On Shayim Kippur you say, V'choyz by the Sana Toike, V'choyzam Yad Kol Adam Boy. When did I sign it? That's for who's writing the Sefer? Who's writing it? It's my Heilige Neshama. My Heilige Neshama wants me to be great. And if we live like that, we make Neshamadika decisions. Neshama's decisions live forever. Guf, Gashmi's Dika decisions are very limited. They don't have a long life. But if we live in the world of the Guf, a Yitush, they say some flies don't even live 24 hours. Our decisions will be based on such limited vision. People can do things, do the right thing, lives forever. Fellas came to me, I met a guy by Ma'ariv, just got up from Shiva from his mother. And he said, I got to show you a letter I got. I got a letter from a family who, when he was growing up in Borough, they lived around the corner. You know what this family said? I never told you the story. Our mother was Nifteres not long ago. And she said that she was together with your mother in the concentration camp. And they were on a death march. And our mother was the row behind your mother. And she couldn't continue. Her two sisters were carrying her. And your mother was the row in front, turned around. She saw our mother's, she was collapsing. She turned around and gave her last piece of bread. And because of that, she survived. And we're here, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. She said, I never knew the story. He's holding the letter. The person did something 70 years ago. It lives forever. Made a neshama decision. A neshama decision with faith that lives forever. I know somebody, a friend of mine he told me a story once. His shver, his father-in-law was in one of the camps, and he was a very famous Rav, a Rav who survived the war, big Talmud Chacham, and he was doing very poorly. And this man, my friend's father-in-law, saw that this Rav was mamash not going to make it. Now somehow he had gotten hold of an egg. He had a raw egg in his pocket. He wanted to give it to this Rav. He knew he wouldn't take it because he needed it for life. So as we were marching out to work, it says he took the egg and he stuck it into this Rav's pocket. He never told him about it. It says years later, his Rav survived. His children are Rabban and Talmidei Chachamim, and one of his children once told this. He said, our grandfather at the Seder used to always tell a story. He used to tell a story. He doesn't know how Leon Novi saved his life. He says once he was ready. Mamash thought it was all over. And he found an egg. No idea. Got this. Surely Eliyahu Novi came and put an egg in his pocket. Says, yeah. He says, yeah. I know Eliyahu Novi was. I know the story. Yes, a person could reach a level. He's greater than Malachim. I want to tell you something. If Eliyahu Novi had come and done it, would have been a smaller nes. Would have been less of a miracle than a person being able to do such a thing. Yeah, a person could be greater than a Malach. Every time we make decisions, and we activate the chelik elakam imal. It's a decision to be. And sometimes they may seem like small, but in Rochnius there's nothing small. Because the klal is that in spiritual matters there are no gevulim. All the dimensions of the world, of time and space, these are all physical things. In Rochnius, there's no past, present, future. There's no space. All the physical dimensions don't exist. The smallest Inyan Rochni is Ein Sof. Is endless, is infinite. You do the right thing, it's infinite. It's forever. It's as if it always was, and it's as if it will ever be. When they tell a Maisa, it was once the old Belzerov, Hakim Belz, and in his later years, he was very weak. It was very hard to hear when he spoke at a tish. It was difficult to hear him. And there was one chassid wanted very much to be able to hear, so he came like a few hours early, and he took a seat, mamish, right underneath the Rebbe's chair. This is what he knows he's going to be able to hear. And as people started coming in, the Gaboyim saw him, they chased him out. He started screaming, he chased him out. I'm waiting here for hours. This is my place. It's the whole fight. That's to a fist fight. It was, they got out of hand. And the Rebbe came and says, what's going on? He says, what do you mean? They threw me out. I was here. I was here first. I was right. He says, the Ikir Nesoyin in life is how you behave when you're right. Oh, well, we're right. So what? So when we're right, I can activate the Nefesh HaBahamis. Those are the opportunities. Those are the moments. Those are the moments when we become great. And we become, we remember what's happening to us. What's happening to us? We're becoming greater than Malachim, Srafim, Vayfanim. That's what a Zocha is. That's what a Zocha is. The Meraglim, what did they do wrong? Moshe Rabbeinu sent them, go, bring me back. Tell me what you see. And that's exactly what they did. They came back and gave a report. They were Shayna Master Kasha, but what did they do wrong? What did they do wrong? The word Meraglim, the same as the word Regilus. Regilus in English is the word that sounds like Regilus, regular. You're going to Eretz Yisrael. You can't go regular. You can't go with a Regilus. You have to look with a godless. You have to look with a greatness. You can't just look physically. Imagine you would ask them, you meet somebody, oh, an old man. Old man, he remembers the Chofetz Chaim. Wow, who's not going to go here? The guy, tell me about the Chofetz Chaim. What can you tell me? Well, he was about 5'3". He had a white beard and he wore a black hat. I said, what? Does he tell me about the Chofetz Chaim? That's what I want to hear. I want to hear how tall he was. Okay, maybe it's a little bit interesting. Tell me about the Chofetz Chaim. Tell me about what he's about. V'yosuru, v'yachbru, v'yosuru. Esaoretz. V'yachbru, you have to dig. V'yosuru, it says, Lashon v'yatiru, to untie the knots. Remendel Vitebsk was a Talmud, the Baal Shem Tov, he went to live in Eretz Yisrael with the whole group. They settled in Tver. He wrote a letter back. He says, Eretz Yisrael takes a long time until she opens up the knots and you can look deep inside. Don't just go. You have to look deeper. You can't look with the Regilus. If we look at ourselves with the Regilus, all we're going to see is a goof. If we open ourselves, we're going to see a neshama. And that neshama is greater than the malachim. And everybody has to ask themselves this question. Am I a zocha, am I a loy zocha? Because there's only two choices. There's nothing else in between. And if we don't think about it, it's a very dangerous thing. I'll tell you a story. The story took place more than 35 years ago. I was a bocher in Yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael. And I'd say there was a shul next to the dir where we were staying. So it was a very geschmack. A shul was just built and they had a lot of svarim. I think it was Thursday night. We used to learn there with the chavrusa. You know it is sometimes your chavrusa doesn't show up. Sometimes you don't show up. You know, it's one of those comfortable chavrusas. And it was a Thursday night. The group didn't show up. Okay, trying to learn myself. But right next to me, the table, there was a group. You just say a kipke. a group of chevra sitting and schmoozing. And there was one guy, he was really holding court. And he had what to say about everything. He was darshaning on and all the politics and everything, shittus on this and that. And, I was curious, I'm trying to learn, but you're listening half in because it was very interesting. And I picked up certain yisoidas then that I still remember to this day that this guy established. But he was going on, he's smoking and he's darshaning about this and about which he had it. It must have been like 2 hours. Yeah. This winter in Muncie, it was the middle of winter. Mr. Marabah, I went to the Envisions, they have very late minyanim. I went up in a late minyan, it was very cold outside. I'm going outside. I see a guy standing outside. He's smoking a cigarette. He has 3 guys around him. And he's talking and talking and talking. I look at, that's the guy! Without a doubt, he was the same guy. I went into Daven Ma'ariv. It was very late, so it took time to get a minyan. There was no minyan until he got there. So davening with the minyan took a half hour. I come outside, he's still there. He's still there. So it's 35 years later. He hasn't stopped. It's a scary story, rabbis. Talk about regilas. If we don't do something to become zoichim, chas v'shalom, we're looking at ourselves, we will be gesund and stark 35 years from now. We're not going to change. Because we don't change unless we put change in motion. Doesn't happen. This guy certainly, if somebody would have went to him and said, I know he was a good bach from a good home grader, father big Talmud Chacham, so he says, that's what he certainly wanted to be a Talmud Chacham. He certainly wanted to be a Chacham. He would say to him, I'm telling you, if you don't stop what you're doing now, in 35 years you're still going to be doing the same thing. He would have said, are you crazy? I just got to finish now. I got to finish wasting time, soon I'm going to get to work. It doesn't happen. That's regilas. It's meraglim. It's dangerous. But a person falls into a certain mode, and that's it. And the goof takes over. If we want to be zoichim in life, if we want to be greater than malachim, we really can be. We really, really can be. It's not exaggeration. It's a choice. Less than an insect or greater than a malach. But if you don't do anything about it, okay, well, very nice. You can continue. And they say if you have a guy has a field of potatoes and he wants to grow strawberries, he can stand around waiting for years. You got to plant something else. You got to do something. You got to plant strawberries. They'll grow. So if you don't do anything, it's going to stay potatoes forever. What are we doing? The Eibishter gives us life. He gives us a neshama. He puts us down and he put a chelik of us. That we should be great. That we should be greater than malachim. If we do nothing about it, nothing's going to happen. We'll fall into the regilas, into the natural swing of things. And before you know it, the Hatorah has tricked us into giving him our life. Our neshama. What did the Melech Stoim say to Avram Avinu? Ten li ha-nefesh v'rechush kach loch. Some Sefer says that's the Hatorah. He says, just give me your nefesh, I'll give you the rechush, give you all the money you want. Just give me your neshama. And that's the thing we must never, ever give away. That's us. That's who we are. That's the ani. That's the anoichi. That is what lives forever. The Eibshter's helfen. That we should overcome the nesoyin of regilus that lulls us into a sense of not thinking. And every time we turn around, it's like it's Shabbos again, it's Rosh Chodesh again, it's Rosh Hashanah again. It keeps on going. A guy once came into shul. And he says Kaddish. I said, what happened, Kaddish? You have yard side? No. With your novel? No. Just my birthday. So why are you saying Kaddish on your birthday? He says, Noch a Jahr gestorben. Another year just died. We're given years, we're given life, Rabbi Ephraim. For what? To be zoichim, to be greater than malachim. We don't have to be, that's who we are. Just have to remember it and remind ourselves again and again and never lose that clarity, that hakorah. It's a question of hakorah. You're either a zoich, today they say winners or losers. That's what a zoich and a loy zoich is. You're either a winner or a loser. If you live and you know that you're a neshama, you're a winner in this world. If not, chas v'shalom. The Eibishter should give us the wisdom Maybe should give us the vision, the seichel hayosha, the siyata d'shmaya that we need. To be able to think clearly, to overcome the power of regilus over us, to overcome the things that we're impressed with. Like the Meraglim stood there in awe of the physical greatness of the giants, and they did that. Not to be taken in by that, to remember what we have inside of us, to remember who we really are. And then we'll be zoichim. And when we're zoichim, there's no boundary to what we can be, what we can attain, the level of greatness we can achieve. Kadosh Baruch Hu should give the siyata d'shmaya, the koiches hanefesh live according to our heiliger ritzonos. Should be zoich to serve Hashem mitech simcha and nachas and achavas hadas. Should be zoich b'korav to be as Mashiach tzedkeinu b'meirav yameinu. Amen.